Hey everyone, this is episode 262, and this is one of those very rare but still too often episodes where I am all by myself. So that said, it is a short and sweet episode. I'm going to go over a handful of things like Planet Comic-Con, some movies, TV shows I've recently watched, just a little bit of future episode talk, but not a lot of stuff. This is not the most dense meal you're going to ever have to listen to. So give it a go. Listen to what I say at the end about subscribing, sharing, commenting, and all that good shit. Sorry about cussing in an intro, but we're going to jump right into it. So the bomb is going to start about now. All right, so the bomb at this point has went off, and now, as you've probably already heard, it's just me doing this episode all by myself, which, one of the big reasons for that is a couple. We've got one dad, actually two dads that have been experiencing some sick kids, but one dad experienced a real sick kid, and we'll probably talk more about that when we do all get back and go over what I'm going to get into here in a little bit. Just a little bit. I'm going to hit on Planet Comic-Con just a little bit, but just know that between the travel, between sick kids, and between sports galore, I just wanted to get this episode out this week because I know it's been a couple weeks since we got out, and I know that a lot of sporadic episodes here and there, but I got some ideas and some ways around that, some things I'm wanting to do. So I'm going to give this episode a shot by myself. That said, the Cardinal game's on the background. You just heard Lou walk across the studio, and I haven't closed the basement door to the man cave, to the Studio Bohegan. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm going to give it a go, because I do have things to talk about, and hopefully it's a lot of great stuff. And the Cardinals are pouring it on right now. They actually went up big time in a drought the last couple of games. They are now currently beating the Mets 7-4, which is good news. That's what we like to hear. Anyway, enough of that. Here we go. First thing I want to touch on was Planet Comic-Con. This was a special Planet Comic-Con, and I guess to give you an idea about why Planet Comic-Con already is special to me, it really feels like my Comic-Con. I think Dwayne probably would say the same thing. We've been going to this show for the better part of 25, 26 years, for as long as Chris has had it, basically. I think we were there one of the single-digit numbers, and we've been going ever since then. I have missed 4 or 5 throughout the years, but that said, this is still the first main Comic-Con I ever went to. I consider it an actual comic book show. And this one, more so than any of that, because it is a good show for me and my friends always being there together, and we always get drinks together. We have a lot of debauchery that follows around the dudes' weekend. But more than that, this one also featured a first. It had not the first time that one of us has worked the show, because I've certainly worked the show in a stand before. Josh Roberts, former owner of the Comics Cave, and just super great guy. He's worked it plenty of times with his shop, and then I've certainly had some friends. I wouldn't say super close friends, but friends like in Jason Hurley. And then Jeremy Hahn, some of these guys, and even Cullen Bunn, we'll get to a little later. Guys I know that have worked show, but this one was super close friends. Aaron Conaway's, one of my best friends. Daniel Moeller, certainly. Me and Conaway are closer. I've studied that, but Daniel's still a great dude, and I've known him for a long time, and drank a lot with him, hung out with him, certainly helped them out in some of their New Vision Comic Con endeavor, or comic company endeavor, and things like that. Comics Collective. Let me go back to that. New Vision Comics Collective. So I've helped them out with some logos and stuff, and certainly been a part of their creative process over the last few years, and enjoyed watching it grow. But this was the first year that my close friends were actually set up as creators. They had their own booth for New Vision, and of course that would be for both Moeller's books, and Red Mass and Psychonaut Presents and all that stuff. But AC was there with his Gideon books, his Waking the Weaver, all of his stories written as Gideon, and their joint comic. Excuse me, I don't have a cough button, but their joint comic that they did together. So I'll link New Vision Comics Collective and things like that on here, and we'll get in a little bit more on them later. But for me, for the show also, this was probably one of the biggest years in a long time of how much money I spent. I bought a ton of hardcovers. I don't even want to name them. Not just hardcovers, but what I did is I bought some expensive hardcovers. And then I also got some good autographs. I got Scotty Young on a book called Fortunately the Milk, which was written by Neil Gaiman, and Young just did some illustrations on the pages. And why that's important to me is not only have I been a fan of Scotty Young for a long time, I think I made a comment at the show. I got sketches from him when they were $50, and now they're like $3,000 because he's blown up. Certainly over the years, the X-Baby, all the X-Baby covers and all of the Cable and Deadpool covers and everything that he's done to I Hate Fairyland and Bully Wars, and he's got a new book that he just came out at the show, which hopefully Josh grabbed me one called Twig. He's just a superstar artist, as big as they come in my book, and having his autograph is big, but having it with Neil Gaiman on a book they did together is just super massive. Because one, Neil Gaiman's a very hard guy to come by, and if you're wondering how I got the Gaiman autograph, there's this little cool bookstore in St. Louis called Left Hand Books, and I believe that's the name. I hope I'm crediting it right. If I do, I apologize. I'll put your name in the right way later. They sell first edition autograph copies, and Gaiman only goes through like local owned bookstores. He won't go through the chain. So that's how I got it with him. And then I got Scotty to do it. And it was a good moment for me because when Scotty opened up to sign it, he went to sign it and he goes, "Oh, super cool." And he gave me the thumbs up. Like in Geek World, I just got the ultimate acknowledgement. Like maybe this is one of the best autograph tandems he's seen at the show. So that was big. Another big thing, no concussions. So that was a bonus. You don't have any crazy stories about people's heads bleeding and things of that nature. But we did manage to hit in some new breweries. We went to the Big Rip, which is a sci-fi horror themed brewery. Like there's some cool posters on the wall, but not like a lot of crazy shit to where it's a complete theme. But all their breweries are named after something, like Aisle 12, which if you're ever shopping smart, shop S-Mart. And then some other ones, like they had a oatmeal raisin cookie, which was an orc, and it's just a cool place. And then the other one we went to, I probably was a little too drunk to enjoy it as much, so I'm not taking anything away from it. Just know that at the point where I was in the evening and where I was in my cups, they don't get as great as a review because I barely remember it. And that was Border Brewery, right there near the P&L, or right there near downtown KC, which was pretty good. And then the last thing I'm going to touch on before we, I get into some other things. We also went to this tabletop bar, and we got How Pow there, which was like super mission. And we got him to play a trivia game, which he won, and he not going to let us live that down. But if there was a game of all the games there for him to do well at, a trivia was the one. But this place was called Reroll, and it was in North KC, and it's a straight, like, I think they have a $5 cover to get in, but they didn't charge us, but we also drink a lot. So, but they just a super cool, just a big catalog and stockpile of board games and RPGs and strategy games and things you want to play, or if you're into it, they have to play. And then a good library of just the actual D&D books and other games like GURPS and Palladium and Riffs and all that good stuff. Some old school stuff they have, like TMNT, and so it was pretty cool. And then when we got done there, I know this sounds like a lot in the 3 days, essentially 2 drinking days we're in. We went right next door to that, where there was it's an empty space that the Reroll owns, that they do different themed pop-up bars. And this one was Star Wars. Now, I'm not going to poop on it because Star Wars, being what it is. But the week before, it was a Clue pop-up bar, and that would have been more in my wheelhouse. I mean, not that I don't love Star Wars. I mean, who doesn't love Star Wars? But Clue, man. I've professed my love and adoration for Clue many times in this podcast. So, in a really tight nutshell, that was Comic-Con weekend. And again, we'll get into that more in a later episode. Probably, actually, the episode you're going to hear next week, because I'll get to that here in the miscellaneous / throw it to Missy segment of this episode. Now, that said, I'm going to talk about a handful of things that I've recently watched or recently done. And this is going to be a short episode, so don't judge me too hard. But not to bring up old stuff, but I finally got the wife to sit down, and Hayden went to the theater to see it, went and watched the Batman again. Now, what's funny is Hayden did not understand the character. She doesn't know anything about Batman. She's a Marvel girl. she's like, well, why do people like Bruce Wayne, or why is Bruce Wayne so famous in the town, or what's the Batman's deal? So she got a little bit of crash course in Batmanism, and I think she enjoyed the movie. Okay, it was a bit dark. It was really dark. I don't think kids are a target demographic. But my wife liked it, but she also liked Seven. So I think if you like one of those, it's a good chance you're going to like the other. But I just wanted to bring it up because I still love it. For me, it's still a 5 out of 5. And I just heard from Cinecon, or whatever it's called, that both Pattinson and Matt Reeves, are in for writing and starring and directing the sequel, which is big stuff for me, for us. I mean, it'll be worth talking about. Okay, that said, I mean, there was a lot of CinemaCon news, too, over the week. Way too much, and I didn't do a lot of research on it to talk about on this episode. Maybe another big episode to talk about with the boys coming up soon. But I did want to talk about something Missy and I watched. We did one of those $20 still in theater streams, rentals of the movie X. That's just X, as in X-rated. It's not X-rated. We didn't get our freak on. And had we, I probably wouldn't tell you, but I certainly would be excited. But what it is, it's... I guess for lack of a better word, and I think one of the taglines that I heard somebody describe it as, and it kind of works, it's kind of like Boogie Nights meets Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, it's got some cool people in it. It's got like Kid Cudi in it. I can't think of the girl's name, but the girl from the newest Scream is in it. It's probably, on paper, the least scary bad guy in a serial killer / slasher movie in an elderly couple. But I gotta tell you, it's fucking effective. I mean, the whole premise of the movie is that topless dancing bar, this nudie bar owner wrangles up a group of people, and they're gonna do their own. He's got this amateur filmmaker who's got this great artistic vision, and they're gonna go. It's kind of like the end of the 70s, going into the 80s, and they've got this idea to make this really great porn movie called The Farmer's Daughter. And that's where Kid Cudi comes in. He's the star of the movie. He's the meat, so to speak. But they rent this farm out, and they don't really tell the farmer what's going on. And the farmer's just got this weird wife who wanders at night and does some creepy things. And I'm not going to ruin it much from there, but this was a layup 4 out of 5 for me. Might even be a 4.5. It's as inventive and original and exciting as a scary movie as I've watched in a while. It's got a very satisfying ending, very much a not an ending where it leaves you, well, are they still alive? Are they not still alive? Spoiler warning, but it's just an ending that leaves you pretty satisfied on how it plays out. And there is quite a bit of gore, so quite a bit of really, really hard murders in it that is worth good jump scares too. So give it a go. I highly recommend it. That's X. You might want to wait till it's not $20 to rent, but it's still maybe one of my favorite movies I've watched in this young year. So yeah, check it out. Also, we've talked about this on the air recently. Minx came to an end, and I'd like to have Missy on the show to talk about it, but she's not gonna. All I'll say is so many dicks in this movie. So many dicks and so many boobs. A lot going on. Even a hand job that they show in which I was super shocked at. It's got to be a prosthetic. That's the only way around it, I think, that they get away with doing it. I mean, this, for as far as TV shows, even on HBO or HBO Max, as it were, I think they pushed the envelope as far as they could on what they did. Which is fine, because Jake Johnson's in it, and he's a fucking treat. Everybody else is pretty solid in it, and for me, it's a 4.5 or 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5, pretty solid 4 out of 5. And the only thing I can say is that this season that we've already talked about a little bit, it's ended so very well. I love the ending and where they left it, and all I want is for them not to screw up and bring me a season 2. That's all I ask. It's again, don't let the kids in the room, but if you're not disgusted and you're not grossed out by adult entertainment, which it's not adult entertainment, but it's a show about adult entertainment, then this show is something you should definitely check out. It's like 10 episodes, I believe. Oh, we also watched Russian Doll. I think I'll let some of my co-hosts watch it as well before we give a report on that. It's season 2. I don't know. I'll have to go back and listen to the episode we did and see what my rating was on the first one, because I think it was pretty high because I thought it was awesome. This one, the waters get a little murky, a little more convoluted. And, man, I forget her name. She's from American Pie. She's in this. You know her from everything. From Orange is the New Black. She's as completely as unlikable as a character in any lead role in a long time. Even Frank Gallagher was more likable than this girl in this movie or this show. So I'm not going to talk any more about it because I want to see if some of my co-hosts watch it, and then we'll talk about it on here. That said, that's all I really had to bring to talk about as in terms of the chunk of the show. And I know it's not a very chunky show considering it's probably going to come in just under 30 minutes. But I also did want to hit in on a couple of miscellaneous things. One, Jay and Tom. Obviously, they're not here today. Neither is Bender. I don't know if they'll be on next week because I'm going to do that an episode I'm going to talk about here in a second. But they have been tearing it up lately, watching indie wrestling, going to indie wrestling. And I don't mean to group AEW into indie wrestling, but they've certainly been to their fair share of AEW shows here around the greater St. Louis area. But they've been to a couple of indie shows now together and then separate. And, John, I think Hummel probably took over the Twitter or the Facebook or whatever and said, be prepared for the next show that's an hour long because got a spoiler warning. It's going to be a lot about, pro wrestling. And it got me thinking, I guess whenever the three of us are on, or maybe they even want to do this here, but I'll just, I guess, moderate or work the board and whatnot with them. Maybe we do an indie or a show that is just a wrestling focus. Maybe we do a spinoff. I mean, we have the comic book spinoff that we're due for an episode, but maybe we just do an entire hour show for just them. Let them run their own thing. So just know that the next one that they're going to be on is going to be heavily pro wrestling influenced. And I think maybe the way around the struggling, I guess what's the word I'm looking for? The struggling review or downloads for the wrestling one is that we just let you know right up front, hey, we're doing a wrestling episode this week. We release it with the special subtitle, whatever, around the ring or slap the turnbuckle with whatever. I mean, we'll come up with something more clever than that with Jay and Tom, and then I can weigh in as the producer or what have you, and we'll just go from there. And then, we'll see. We'll see what they. I think that they. I think that they would definitely be open to doing it. So we'll give that a go. I'll run that by them and see what they say. Speaking of episodes in next week's episode, I'm going to record Sunday and probably release it early, like Monday or Tuesday. I am going to have Daniel Moeller and Aaron Conaway of New Vision Comics Collectives and Friendship of Mine come on here to go over all things Planet Comic Con. Going to give them some questions on going to cons in general, where this fits in their whole con going love. Because, they've done a couple of little smaller shows and stuff, but this was the first real big entertainment-centric / comic book-centric show for them. So it'll be exciting to hear how it played out for them and hear how they did and just hear what their thoughts are and where they're going with New Vision and their own books. And, Aaron, it was super excited. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but Daniel did his first commission at a show, which is awesome. Beetlejuice, for those that don't follow the real Daniel Moeller on Instagram, he put a picture up of it, gave me a good shout out in his newest newsletter. So I'll tag them all in this. And, that's where we're going. That said, also the last thing I've got to talk about, actually what I wanted to hit on before I wrap this whole damn thing up, which again, short episode, I apologize. Thank you for listening to me ramble. But we've got a lot of stuff coming up, like late April, May is going to be packed with things, and June's going to be bumpy because I'm going on vacation, which I'll have some stuff to talk about then. But we've got Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness coming out, which is going to be great. That's Mother's Day weekend. Fan Expo STL, which is the weekend after. That's formerly Wizard World. Me and Hayden are going to go to that, and I think Jay and his girls and son are going to go to that. We've got Ozarks, the finale of the part 2 of the series finale starts tomorrow, I believe, or this week. And then something else I'll tag in this. One of my favorite podcasts and one of my favorite stand-ups, or just personalities in general. Brendan Schaub's got his first ever, his second total special coming up called Gringo Poppy, but it's his first one under Thick Boy Studios, which is his YouTube studio, among other things, his now music producing studio, which the first song that I heard finally he released on this last episode of the Shop Show, which was pretty awesome, with Lil Browse, Jelly Roll, and Chin, his producer. It was awesome. So that's coming out on April 28th. That is, as you are listening to this, should be tomorrow. And I'm giving that a big shout out, and I want people that listen to our show go watch it. It is on YouTube on Thick Boy Studios, so go check that out. And I'm super excited about that. I mean, one of my pie in the sky people that I'd love to have on a podcast one day would be him. So if he wants to grow his downloads of his podcast or the viewership of his special, and he hears this, he just needs to know that I can at least add 30 people to what that otherwise wouldn't have watched it. I bet 30. You know what? Some of my people are already fans, so maybe 25. God, that said, another thing I brought up to you guys is that, we've had some holes in the recording lately. I got some ideas on how to fill that. I want to start recording a bunch of episodes of some different things and keep them in the can. One thing I want to do is, I'm not allowed to buy them anymore, but I got a lot of board games. I still want to do the Warriors and film it for YouTube and the episode. And then Hidden Leaders, a brand new one just came in. I do have one called Batman, The Dark Knight Returns, based on Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. Maybe the greatest single comic book story ever told. Maybe. It's up there. The Watchmen, it's pretty good too. Came out the same year. Go back to one of our year in comic episodes. Hear us talk about that. I got a Mini Quest Adventures. I got a bunch of board games, and I want to start recording us. I do know we got a drinking one coming in soon. It should be shipped. That one we're definitely going to do. But I want to record them via YouTube and the podcast, and release them both ways and see how that goes. So that's a lot of big ideas. Hopefully we get to it. And I think I'm going to try to convince Big D to come up here to St. Louis here in the next couple months, because I do have a copy of that Batman game for him. And then, that'd probably end up yielding an episode or out of that as well. So that's pretty much all I have for today. I appreciate you putting up with a sporadic schedule. Our downloads have been good, so obviously somebody's talking or it's getting out there some way. And I always appreciate that. So if you don't know, go look for all of us. You can find links to all of us on PCBombcast.com. You can go to Twitter under PC Bombcast, Instagram under PC Bombcast. You go to Pop Culture Bombcast on Facebook, and you find links to everybody that's on the show. That'll take you to Nerdcast. It'll take you to Bender. That'll take you to the Silver Badger, Tommy, and of course myself. And it used to have Missy on there. In fact, I might need to change it now that the flop's not on there. Maybe I need to do some more art, because she definitely does not show up on the episode very much anymore. But check us out, man. And I can't stress it enough. If you hit that like and subscribe button, that's awesome. We'll always love that. But what we want is you to comment and share. Comment especially. That's how the algorithms work. I've said it a million times on here. You can be shitty to me, just be clever, so we can laugh at it and possibly make fun of ourselves. But yeah, give it a go, man. Other than that, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Putting the train in the station. Thank you for the time this week. We got a big full episode coming next week with AC and Daniel, like I mentioned, Planet Comic-Con wrap up, and convention talk in general. And that is all. I will play the music. Thank you.